My mother-in-law stole something priceless, so I'm getting her arrested. This is part 2, John.
The big one?
The big one.
Woo.
We got a thickie today. So let's jump into it. Backstory on myself and my relationship with my mother. So since I've mentioned being in no contact with my mother since before meeting wifey, I thought I'd give some history as to why. And just a quick recap on everything that we heard in part 1. Basically, OP's mother-in-law stole his priceless collection of skeleton keys priced at around like $3,000.
Yep.
What did his wife do but take mother-in-law's side? And so now OP is realizing this is a pattern of disrespect that's been happening over like the last couple of years. So what is he going to do? He's going to divorce.
Gotta leave.
Gotta leave. He's got to leave. So we're getting into that divorce space, and we're going to get into some more context into all of this.
Let's do it.
My mother is a thieving, self-victimizing control freak and a Karen long before people called them that. She makes scenes in public, openly hates animals, repeatedly trying to get meals comped for acting like food or service was terrible, is both a liar and a thief, and had a revolving door of boyfriends in her life. And her favorite lines to me were things like, life isn't fair. You don't have to like it, you just have to do it. And I'm not asking, but telling, finally, does this look like the face of someone who cares?
And that face looks like this.
I think that paints a fairly clear picture. Also, don't think of this as some long sob story. I had a poor but constructive childhood where I learned to make do with what I had. And yes, I apologize for the length.
Sam has to do that too.
I was just about to say that about you. Once I started writing, it opened a floodgate, things that John also opens. I'll do my best with the TLDR at the bottom. By the way, this comes from My Keys Were Stolen on the Entitled People subreddit.
Really like that one.
So growing up, I didn't have a father. Guy died when I was a toddler from an over. So my mother raised me. I thought we weren't getting a sob story. I feel like the sob is starting to story.
I'm sobbing.
I didn't have any paternal grandparents. Yeah, see, you're making John wet already. And I lost my maternal ones at a young age. They were seemingly good people. So how they had someone as nasty as my mother is beyond me. After they died, I only got occasional familial support from other relatives. And it wasn't much because they didn't like being around my mother. My mother also kept moving us farther away from them. I eventually learned that my mother used me as emotional blackmail to try to make them give her the things she wanted. As a result, I never got close to any of them. Even now, we barely speak. To be fair to my mother, in one way, she worked her booty off to keep a roof over our heads at a job that paid minimum wage. But it meant she wasn't around during the day much, and she spent a fair amount of her spare money on booze after covering the bills.
Sounds like a winner.
Oh, man. She openly told me many times while drunk that she hadn't wanted a child, and she hated being a parent. When she was around, she was most often inebriated and made me do any chore she could think of to get me out of her sight, unless I willingly went outside to do something else. Rain or shine, night or day, I was outside a lot when she was home. I even slept outside sometimes. I built forts nearby out of scrap, tree limbs, and refuse, and those provided some needed fun and shelter on many occasions when I wanted to be away from my mother.
Opie is like, the only fun I had was putting sticks together as a little fort for myself to be homeless.
I did that for fun as a kid.
At first, they were just leaning shelters built against trees, but one day I got a better idea. I found a discarded shovel and started digging a hole in the woods near my apartment. I feel like we're getting into like primitive technology type videos.
Like, they create like a 5-star log cabin out of just like sticks on the ground.
I must have spent weeks working on this fort. It was my crowning achievement back then. The hardest part was digging the hole. But I must have gotten in at least 5 feet deep and maybe 8 feet long. And I built a roof over it, used a couple of support beams. I used rope and screws to hold it together. Then I covered it with multiple layers of discarded plastic and plywood I could find. Man's like Bear Grylls, but homeless.
Dang. Maybe this is why he wanted a home so bad.
Man, he didn't want to let it go.
I don't know if I believe that this, let's call him 9-year-old boy, is building a 8-foot by 5-foot like home
Oh,
in
ye
the
of
ground.
little faith. I'll show you some of the holes that I built when I was a kid. Those holes were big and wide
Oh,
Oh, wow.
and could fit 5 grown men.
5 grown men?
Five grown men.
How do you know that measurement?
Just because.
You have something you want to confess to us?
What?
Get 5 grown men into that hole at 9.
I confess, though, that this idea was not original to me. As a kid at school told me he and his friends built a similar fort, only they didn't have to make theirs out of trash. I piled the dirt from the excavation on top. We're getting so deep into this dirt fortress.
Literally.
And made it into a small hill, kind of like a hobbit house. I even planted moss and grass all over it. When inside, I kept picturing myself as Bugs Bunny. The hardest part was hiding the door because I couldn't cover it in leaves while I was inside the fort. I made a makeshift ladder to get in and out. Why are we still on this?
All will be explained.
And the door covering the entrance was a piece of old plywood. I tried to make it look as filthy as possible.
Dirty boy.
The fort worked pretty damn well. Even kept the rain out. I even had a makeshift bunk to sleep on. I was around 11 when I built this thing, and I told no one about it. But alas, we moved to another apartment about 10 miles away a year later. I went back to my old fort by bike to once to check on it after a few months and found an unfriendly homeless guy living in it.
The way this was going, I was expecting him to be like, and then I figured out that if you break down the chemicals in rainwater, it generates electricity and builds the world's first.
If I don't see a skeleton key in the next sentence or two,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be pissed.
I couldn't even get back the stuff I'd hidden there and called it a loss. The next apartment wasn't so close to the woods, so I didn't get the chance to build another fort like that. And as a teenager, I managed to get my hands on a tent I used occasionally. Thankfully, as I got a bit older, my mother started not coming back for around 3 days at a time on average, and I had peace.
Oh my-
So long as there was food for me to eat and things for me to do, I was fine. From the age of 7 onward, I no longer had babysitters because one of my maternal grandparents had passed around that time, and the other was too sick to help with anything. Both were pretty sick in their final years. I had gotten used to being home alone in a stuffy apartment with no AC and not a lot to do when not at school. My mother never had access to a car of her own. We were bus people unless one of her boyfriends gave us a ride. I think from the age of 8, I was essentially taking care of myself, getting myself up for school, making most of my own meals, etc. I pretty much lived off cereal and microwave dinners at this point. At
Like
school,
someone I know.
that is true.
No, it's like classy
What do you
microwave
mean?
dinners.
Well, I mean, it is.
From Trader Joe's, that's
you
why it's
literally
classy?
eat cereal and microwave dinners every day.
Classy though.
That is true.
Classy.
They are classy. They are
It's classy.
classy.
Super
They
classy.
are Trader Joe's.
We'll get back to the story, but John, remember when you tortured me by making me export a 24-hour long video?
Oh, the intern days. Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
But but now, but the little piece that I love doing it for the people,
Yeah.
I've decided that we should release a 3-hour long video every single day for them.
That's so generous of you, Riley.
I know that we do it once a week already on our YouTube channel, so why
But
just
it's
do
not
it?
enough.
It's definitely not enough.
So you're telling me you're going to stay up all night exporting months worth of 3-hour videos?
Oh, not just me. It's going to be me, Keon, and Dakota. Not Sylvia. But every single night, exporting 3-hour long videos just for you guys.
Riley respects women. Only men will be exporting these.
That's right.
So if you want to go check him out, go to YouTube, search OK Storytime Compilations for daily 3-hour compilation videos. All right, let's get back to the story.
And at school, I qualified for free lunch programs that were for less fortunate families. Yeah, my mother played that system for all it was worth.
I mean, if not, it sounds like he'd be eating dirt.
Well, yeah. I mean, it sounds like you needed that. You were like, well, taking the bus everywhere.
Let your mom get some free school lunches.
Yeah, geez.
Freaking dirt man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We always lived in the cheapest apartments in not so savory neighborhoods. We never had cable or home internet. So unless hanging out with a friend at their house or going to the library, I could only watch public access TV until they cut it from the air or watch one of the few DVDs or VHS tapes we had around. I didn't even have a video game console until a friend's parent gave me their brother's old N64 out of pity.
Free game system.
Sarah Jaime says, the more this story continues, the more I dislike OP.
Why do you dislike him? He had a hard life. What?
I feel like I'm getting a bunch of useless context.
Just you wait. The ground we are breaking
It's fertile.
is going to build the foundation of the
All of this
mind-blowing events.
better
about to
be
happen.
relevant.
It's going to relate to a skeleton key. I'm betting you money.
All right. Back at the time, those consoles weren't worth half a damn, so they gave it to me for free along with some games and an old TV they no longer used. For things to do, I regularly scavenged the garbage in the dumpsters in the apartment complexes around the area for anything I could use to play with. I found clothes, toys, a BMX bike, a radio Walkman, and a few movies on DVD and VHS that way, including some XXX ones, if you get my meaning. I really had to hide those. Well, why is this?
Bro's resourceful.
Yeah. He got some attention on Reddit. He's like, I'm about to tell everyone my life.
Sadly, people mostly only threw out bad movies, so I didn't exactly get to see a lot of blockbusters unless they were unwanted VHS. I surprisingly found a fair amount of Legos. Those really helped keep me entertained. I did find video game cartridges on occasion and often sold them to the game store because they were for consoles I didn't have. But I was very lucky to find an N64 game a couple of times. But if I remember right, they were sports games that I didn't find interesting. People threw out books all the time too, but I've never been much of a reader.
Of course, he just looks at dirt. That's where he gets all of his knowledge from. He becomes one with the earth.
This is ridiculous. This is too much. This is like when your teacher's like, "Hey, there's an 1,000-word limit. Like you got to write at least 1,000 words."
Yeah.
And then you're like, "When I was a child, and not before I was an adult, but after I was a toddler, I met a man. Not just any man. The man was my father, my biological father." Like. This is too much. Yeah, exactly. The SpongeBob.
Yeah.
When my mother found out I was digging in the garbage, she didn't even try to stop me. Instead, she told me to grab any aluminum cans or beer bottles I found too, then recycle them for the deposit money. That became the closest thing I ever had to an allowance. During that time, I also frequented the local dollar stores for small things I needed. What kind of small things, you might be asking?
I am.
You were very curious.
Tell me.
About what small things.
I need to know.
Well, the small things were any usable clothes I found that fit were just thrown in the wash and worn. I also learned how to sew and mend tears and pop seams in clothes from a young age without help. At school, I could never let on that I had clothes I found in the garbage. My friends knew, though, and they kept the secret. Funny thing is, people threw out a lot of surprisingly good clothes.
That is funny.
That is so funny.
I'm dying.
I don't know if they were wasteful or what. Can't tell you how many shirts and pants. All right, guys. Am I really about to read 7,000 words of this guy? Like,
yeah. What
is this at all?
Let me look.
I feel like this is like 0% interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like this is 0% interesting.
I was gonna say at the end, we could probably cut out a lot of.
Right? Am I crazy? Are you guys?
Yeah, tell us, chat.
Should I skip ahead?
Everyone's saying skip.
All right. So, my personal obsession with skeleton keys started at a fairly young age. My mother took me into an antique store with the boyfriend she had back then. I saw a display with lots of keys for sale in it. The boyfriend offered to get me one, but my mother refused to allow it and told me they were just old junk. I kept wanting one, though. I started keeping modern keys I found from time to time, and I got a bunch of can opener keys. You know, the kind that open cans of Spam. I had a whole ring of them. My mother found the keys and threw them all out. I had to beg her to at least let me keep the can opener keys, which I was barely able to get back after becoming an adult. Finally, we're in adulthood.
Yes.
I started collecting skeleton keys.
And think about the childhood connection, the mom taking the mother-in-law taking the keys. Like this is hitting something deep in OP.
Yeah.
When they're gone.
Relevant. We're finally at relevance.
Oh, yeah.
At first, it was very slow and just keys from a local antique store. But once I was out of college and got a good job, what did OP start doing?
Tell me.
Buying skeleton keys on eBay.
There it is.
And that's where I got them. So all of this to know that OP is buying skeleton keys on eBay.
Important.
TLDR, my mother was terrible and uninvolved. I should have just read this. All right, TLDR.
Yep.
My mother was a terrible and uninvolved parent, as well as a drunk control freak, a thief, and a complete Karen. I had to learn to be independent from a young age and did whatever I could to survive and avoid her. I dug through trash to find things I needed and taught myself life skills, recycled bottles and cans for pocket money, and even built an underground fort to hide in. My mother tried to act differently towards me in my teens when she realized I didn't need her, but I left at 18 and she followed me to try to force me to live with her again. But I eventually went no contact and haven't spoken to her in years. And now we get to the updates. Now we get to the update.
And again, in episode 1, we didn't know anything about OP's own mom, which probably painted a lot of how he viewed the mother-in-law too. Like the skepticism of a mother figure, especially when she starts like
we're getting deep. The skepticism of a mother figure. We're psychoanalyzing.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
We'll see.
But we got an update.
Okay.
And I believe this is like tangential to the first part, because the update is my nasty coworker gave my cell number to my mother that I was trying to cut out of my life. So we just got the TLDR on the backstory.
Mom's coming back.
So OP says, I spoke before in detail about my mother. It wasn't that much detail. Come on, OP.
A little bit.
Just know she's an extremely awful person. I'm glad I have nothing to do with her anymore. But this is about Ted, a coworker I used to have when I was in college and working part-time in a warehouse. Unlike me, Ted was a full-time employee, but he didn't act like it. We're about the same age, though. Ted was a snoop. He loved gossip, and he loved to look for things. Ted also spent long periods in the bathroom listening to MP3s just to avoid working.
Sounds like someone else I know that just loves Kanye.
It's true.
Kanye in the bathroom.
Nonstop. His idol.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
His idol. Yeah, because he can't. He can't respond when he just has 808s and heartbreaks just playing repeat in his head. The first time he got...
Go ahead. Get it out. Get it out. Let it fly.
Shout out Kanye.
Yay.
No.
Yeah. Do you have any words for Kanye if he's listening? No.
Come on.
Nothing?
Yeah, you do.
Not even like,
Yeah, you do.
dude, all that stuff you've been saying is a little crazy. It sounds like you're just standing by everything.
Tell him how you
said.
really feel about the Donda album. Come on, go ahead. Tell him.
I have no comment.
Damn.
I have no comment.
Wow.
Which, you know what that means? A-OK from Johnny Boy.
You are the 9-year-old digging dirt boxes, okay, in the earth for no reason.
All right. Anyway, the first time he got written up for that was bringing XX material to work and reading it out in the open while on break.
Classy.
Sounds like someone I know.
John loves his 50 Shades of Grey.
He does.
You know
He
me.
loves his smut.
Love it.
He does.
Put it on Audible. Crank that up.
Nothing more.
Yeah. Turn up the volume,
Yeah.
if you ask me.
And he
You know.
pressed his member into my loincloth.
Get surround sound speakers in the house and all the studios and just play that while
Press
we're
it not
recording.
here. Actually, sidebar, I was gone the way home from Thanksgiving, and my sister and my mom were listening to some like 50 Shades of Grey, like it was like a murder mystery thing from Audible. And I woke up and it was literally like, and he pressed his member into my blah, blah, blah. And I woke up like, guys, what are you listening to? And they're like, I swear it's not usually like this. But it sounded like it was usually like that.
Now that was relevant.
Anyway, yeah. Socrates says, John's complacency, tisk, tisk. Amen.
That's me.
Amen. Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do?
He called it BS and said our manager was approved just for watching XXX Tentacion, but no one else sided with him about it. The second time Ted got written up, it was because he gave my cell phone to my mother.
Evil mother.
She called my job pretending to be my girlfriend, and Ted gave her the number without question. How did he get it? Well, all the employees had their numbers written down by the manager. Most of the employees were part-timers like me, and employee turnover rates were high. So the manager had all our numbers written down, ready to call someone in to take a shift when needed. which was surprisingly often. I wouldn't call the manager an unpleasant guy, but he kept everyone at an arm's length. Anyway, Ted gave my mother my first cell phone number, and she immediately used it to start calling and harassing me. Oh, he got in trouble for it when I complained to the boss because it was in the rules you're not allowed to give out any personal information of your coworkers. Ted actually blamed the write-up he got for it on me and claimed I should have warned him. I pointed out that if I had a girlfriend, then she'd already have my number. She wouldn't need to ask a stranger for it. True. Ezekiel says, please skip ahead before we all go brain dead. Does this also feel brain dead?
Yeah.
I feel like these next parts, it's like the sequel is never as good as the original.
Well, it does go more onto the mother-in-law saga. Just skip ahead to that part.
Okay. Update. Wifey broke her silence, tried to seduce me, and is scrambling to find an apartment now.
Oh.
The fact that this was predicted so well by so many people is kind of frightening, but it only seems to prove what a big stereotype wifey is. After roughly a week of silent treatment from her, wifey couldn't keep it up anymore and started love bombing. So remember, in part one,
yes,
we had the mother-in-law of OP steal his skeleton keys that meant the world to him. Wifey took the mother-in-law's side and basically paid out of like pocket for her bailout or something.
Basically took the money from OP.
Basically took the money from OP. And OP's like, why aren't you supporting me and supporting your mother instead? And he's like, it sounds like you don't even want to be in a relationship. And she's like, yeah. And so they're splitting up. OP serves her divorce papers at her work. And now they've been apart for a while. I think OP's wife is having a little change of heart.
He also predicted this too. He said she might love bomb. Like he mentioned love bombing before in the first episode.
So let's see if the love bomb continues. So she even tried to make me dinner and get me drunk. I told her while she was cooking that I wouldn't touch anything she made. For one, she's a terrible cook. So I guess that's one reason.
Yeah.
And secondly, she's a terrible person. No, OP doesn't say that. No. I don't trust her to not put something in the food. She made overcooked hamburgers and I didn't touch them or the alcohol provided. I mean, the beer was already opened and she cried and said I was being mean by not eating her food. And I coldly said it was because I can't trust her anymore.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
You can't eat the food of people you don't trust.
Mm-mm.
Even if they take away the key to your heart.
Even they take away the key to your heart.
Wow.
Especially if they take away the key to your heart. You know, you're not going to, if food is the window to the soul and the soul is made up of the heart, how can you open up your heart to food? Got to have trust.
And a crowbar.
And a crowbar. Yeah, unless you have a crowbar.
Yeah. Then you just get in whatever you want.
It's true. It's true.
It's free.
I've been watching The Walking Dead and they definitely do that.
True.
They access some
Pros.
zombie hearts and brains.
Pros
with
at that.
crowbars. Yep. But she retorted that it wasn't like she cheated on me or anything. It's not that bad.
That's it.
It's not that bad.
It's a little felony.
It's just a felony. It's just stealing.
Who cares?
It's not cheating. I said back that she may as well have cheated since her mother was always more important to her than me. You cheated on me with your own mother.
If you love her so much, why don't you marry her?
The man she married. Yeah, me, the man she married. So I was just finishing.
Yes.
I was finishing
Sentence
that off.
complete.
Anyway, you can't keep a marriage by treating your spouse as secondary. Wifey changed the subject by breaking down, crying again. I guess, is that changing the subject or is that shifting attention? I guess the subject is me crying. Look at me. And begged that if I stopped the divorce, we could get marriage counseling. The marriage counseling I had wanted. And she'd never try to have mother live with us ever again. I told her. What do you think he told her?
That sounds great. Let's dig a hole in the dirt and stay there forever, and we're never gonna be
Dang! Wrong! Wrong! I told her it was far too late.
He stabbed me.
She had her chance, and she blew it badly.
And not in the right way.
Not in the right way, in all the wrong ways. Ooh. She always made it very clear where she'll always stand. In the past 2 years, she made no effort to get better and only acted nicer in public. Why would I want to stay in that sort of toxic relationship? She had to answer truthfully for once and admitted that she would have left me if I'd done the same. But she still kept trying to convince me not to divorce and that we could work it out. I had to just walk away and go into the office again. Wifey didn't stop and even tried to initiate intimacy a couple times. Like just leaning in for a little kiss.
Shutting it down.
Yep.
Nope, not today.
No siree. She walked around the house in lingerie. A lot. That's what John does when he wants to get my attention.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guilty.
Guilty is
And a
charged.
stock.
And even, in a stock.
Just walking around like this in some lingerie. Just my hands
He
wiggling.
knows what I like. He knows what I like.
My hands wiggle like that.
And even my favorite of wearing nothing but a lacy apron. See, now OP's in the details, but at least these are fun details.
And relevant.
And relevant.
And relevant.
I want to know about that lacy apron.
Okay.
She hasn't done that for me since our honeymoon. Even when I asked, she tried touching me in places. What places? Running her fingers in my hair and getting on her knees.
I don't know if I want you reading this.
To try to entice me. Why?
Let's go back to the dirt bowls.
Are you because you're getting a chub? I didn't take her bait and I stonewalled. That's what I call it. Get an erection.
Oh, God.
She ended up gaslighting me with, am I not good enough? I told her she used to be, but I just can't see her that way anymore. Wife left me alone to hit the bottle hard after I said that. So she's going and drinking. And she wound up puking in the kitchen. I wouldn't put it past her to try and baby trap or frame me at this point. That's why she's trying to get her.
Makes sense.
That's why I tried to get him stonewalled, you know?
Rhinestone Cowgirl, check protection for holes. No holes.
No holes. Well, the only safe spicy sleep is no spicy sleep.
Correct.
And OP is abstaining. I even lock the door when I sleep, and I've installed a hidden camera in the room. We know how OP loves his CCTVs. I want out of this house, but I can't leave yet until I get into my new place. Wifey later doubled down while sobbing when nothing was working on me and begged once again that I don't go through this separation and divorce. But I've already found an apartment that'll be vacant sometime in early to mid-March. I've also notified her of all the utilities to change as well. Wifey's now freaking out even more because now she has to find an apartment for herself right away. I don't really care where she'll end up. I'm just happy that I'll be free of this house soon. I've also made sure to tell her where my upcoming apartment is located, and she's tried to get that info out of me 3 times already. As soon as my new apartment is ready, I'll be moving stuff in. I'll be taking the bed from the guest room when I go. I paid for it after all, and it'll be easier to move since it's a queen size. And what's in the master bedroom is a king. I'm a light sleeper. This is necessary information. Thanks, OP. So having a comfortable bed is a must.
Absolute.
Yeah.
Can't live without it.
No, you can't. You can't. And if you have trouble sleeping and you're trying to figure out why, there's only one person to call.
That's not this part of the episode, Sam.
And that is Zogdog. My wife can have the bulk of the furniture. She can either leave it for the next tenant or she can sell it. I don't care anymore. These are details that OP even doesn't care about.
Necessary.
The apartment I'll be moving into is a 1-bedroom. What's in the bedroom, OP?
Dirt.
The previous left it in a sorry state. So what does have to happen? I need some remodeling. But I picked that specific one because not only will the rent be far cheaper than the house, it'll be much closer to my job. Like I could walk or bike to work from there. And guess what, John?
What?
OP just might walk or bike to that apartment.
Gloves are off.
Gloves are off.
OP's up right now.
All right. John, I'm sure you're wondering, what is the last time OP rode a bike? Well, OP says, I haven't ridden a bike in years.
Whoa. Now that is shocking.
Because I could never get my wifey to. Yet another thing she's held me back from. So when I move out, one of the first things I'm going to do, guess what he's going to do, John?
Hit the open roads.
Buy a bike.
That's right. That's right.
Edit, to clarify, wifey is the one who's been drinking. I've avoided it for a while now. Edit 2, I've gotten many comments from people judging me from this post alone. I feel like OP is being judged a little bit from chat too. I've not been acting this way for no reason. Read my prior post to see what I've dealt with that has led up to this. And edit 3, to explain what happened with my bike situation because the people want to know. Wifey hates bikes. She never wanted to ride with me, and that made me slowly lose interest.
She probably hates him because her mom always rides one. A
Rides
scooter
OP
bike.
like a bike. Oh. And then she
Call
threw
back.
out my old bike without asking me. I wasn't very mad because it was in bad shape, but it's on me for never replacing it. I acknowledge it. He acknowledges that he never got back into biking. It's on him. I'm still not sure what bike I want, but I'm sure he'll give us more information on what bike he wants.
We need it.
We need it.
It's critical.
That is information that is critical to the story. Either street MTB, classic road bike, or a fixie.
Talk about it.
Relevant comments.
Fix
I
it
hope
up.
so. Whiskey Bounce Cowboy says, make sure to get a P.O. box and have your mail routed there for a bit. OP says, I noted. Glowing trash panda. I would also highly recommend getting at least a doorbell camera and maybe another camera for the interior of a new apartment, just in case the address of your new place somehow gets out to your future ex-wife during court proceedings. Even with a P.O. box for mail, the physical address you're residing at might somehow be needed for paperwork, but I don't know for sure. I would definitely ask your lawyer about that. Also, if you haven't already, change your phone number. And we got an update. And it says, to those that think that they know me.
You don't.
You don't. You know why? Because I haven't given enough freaking context. That's what the people need. They need more useless context on my life.
The deep layers that reside within me can't be explained in a measly 40,000 words.
No.
We need more.
To those who've been supportive of my situation, I deeply thank you all. It's the advice that I've gotten from so many of you that's helped me push through this. To those who kept telling me I'm an idiot or some derogatory statement for filing for divorce, that I'm making a huge mistake, or that my wife loves me, that I should give her another chance. Kindly shut the heck up. None of you have lived with this woman or her mother. All right. OP, why? Can you give us more context?
Yeah, I'm lost.
Give us context. They were both very different people. Before I married my wife, you only judged me on her love bombing behavior from my last post, but she's a talented actress.
Golden Globes.
She spent 3 years acting, then took her mask off after ensnaring me at the altar for a marriage that was for her own convenience. So an act was all her love bombing was. She doesn't love me.
Nope.
She loves the financial security of being married to me. She loved ordering me to do what she wanted with my money. She made renting this dang house a hill to die on. She practically ordered me to buy all the new furniture, and my mother-in-law was constantly testing the water to see what she could get me to do too. She practically ordered me to buy her a new phone as some sort of power move, and then flipped out when I refused, then stole and sold my collection to get that new phone as a stupid attempt at revenge that backfired badly for her. And to those calling me stupid for filing for divorce or getting my mother-in-law arrested over old keys, you can shut the hell up.
Do it. Shut it.
This wasn't just about keys.
Nope.
It was about the last straw.
It's about principle.
Those keys, they're not worthless. They're worth $3,000.
A lot of money.
Granted, they don't have high value like vintage jewelry, but some of those keys are worth hundreds on their own. And having more of the same brand of key, like a Sargent's and reading hardware,
Important.
TM, capital letters, proper noun, their values, they stack. It's by no means a worthless collection. And even if it was, it wouldn't matter because it has value to me.
That's right. Priceless.
And to all those upset over me using the word wifey too much, I have something to say to you. I get it. But just saying my wife doesn't feel right anymore because
Feels
this
terrible.
woman is only my wife on paper now. I also have never once called my wife wifey in person. That's exclusively on Reddit.
And we're keeping it there.
This is context we need.
Yes.
I'll possibly replace wifey with STBEX.
Whoa.
Soon to be X or something later.
That's a big change, but okay.
But the separation doesn't start till I move out. So I'll be calling her wifey. It isn't nearly as bad as the nickname some of the other people have come up with for their exes or mother-in-laws on this site. By no means am I bad. I was tempted to call mother-in-law something like Grabby Gabby.
Yep, that's a good one. That's really, really good.
Gabby.
That's really what
yes,
he should. These are all good ideas. No wrong
I'm
ideas there.
tempted to call my wife something like Mommy's Girl or Mini Mia.
Oh, yeah, great.
What other names do you got?
Yeah, can we have
what other names?
Can we have a 10,000 word list of just names that we could possibly?
But guess what, John?
What's it?
John, OP didn't stoop so low.
Oh no, he didn't.
But
do
I
that.
didn't.
Mm.
What did he say?
What did he say?
I just said wifey. John, you might be wondering. What is the social and emotional context of like calling someone wifey? Well, OP goes into it, leaving no stone unturned. It feels far less insulting than any of those other things, and it's easy to understand who I'm talking about. I agree, I might have used it too much, but lived through what I've lived through with her, and I think you might be inclined to say something similar. I was asked if I've had several past failed relationships.
Oh, do tell.
Sorry to disappoint, but no, my wife was my first. We met on a blind date. Now we're going into the backstory. Set up by my friends. My wife was my first date, first girlfriend, first to hold hands with, first to kiss, first in bed with. She admitted to having 2 prior boyfriends that she had been intimate with.
I bet they didn't dig dirt
And
holes.
I had 0 issues with that. 0. Because he's a chill guy.
What a guy.
I fell in love, and we moved in together after 2 years of dating, and I proposed. Then we got married on year 3. But right after the honeymoon, my wife's mask came off.
Mask on, mask off.
She became a demanding, controlling, always seemed to put her mother first, and acted like a bratty teenager at home. I tried to make frank discussion with her many times about various things, but I basically got a talk to the hand.
As if.
And she always brushed me off. It became her way or the highway. So I'm taking the highway.
Ooh. Life is a highway.
I'm gonna ride it
all night long.
You're going my way.
I want to drive it all night long.
Like a scooter.
All right.
with a-
But anyway,
Black
OP
trailer.
gets back to it. You know, he speaks to the people.
Yeah.
For all of us wondering, he says, for those of you wondering about the case against mother-in-law, it's
Oh.
still open.
Okay,
That-
relevant information.
Yes.
We're getting back to some relevant information.
Let's go.
And even if I wanted to drop the charges, which I don't, mother-in-law sold stolen property, so I'll probably be seeing her in court in a few months. Mother-in-law hasn't dared come near the house since I had her arrested. I put up more hidden cameras. We love CCTVs.
Yeah, we need more.
First, one in the bedroom,
Oh.
the one I sleep in, and the other in the office, the place I spend most of my time.
Watching spicy anime.
And I repositioned the living room camera, the place I live in.
Does he?
I haven't cooked anything in the house since wifey came back from the motel. But what have you been eating, OP? I'm desperate to know.
I need to know.
I've been mostly surviving off canned and store food.
Now I know.
The store food. What's
Yeah.
the store food like, OP?
Yeah.
Well,
Describe
the
it to
store
me.
food being things like salads and roast chicken.
Right.
And I only use disposable plastic utensils
Killing a planet. I don't
because F Mother Earth.
like that. Let's talk about recycling for a second.
All right. But John, I'm
Yes.
sure you're wondering, is this the only place OP eats?
I'm
Guess,
dying to know.
Guess. Do you think it is?
You know, I can't imagine he could possibly fathom taking his eating activities anywhere else.
You would be freaking wrong,
Wow.
you idiot.
I'm shocked.
I
I'm
also
floored.
eat at my best friend's house a fair bit.
That
Now
is
on to
huge.
something new that the people desperately want to know.
Changes everything.
I noticed no one has asked what my friends think about all this.
friends.
And so I'm going to give the people the information they need.
Tell us.
Well, my best friend and his wife are pretty much 100% on my side. They were there to see how my wife and mother-in-law treated me these past 2 years. And I've also got several more friends. Yeah, I do.
He got several friends and his
Yeah.
lawyer's a woman.
John, you might be thinking, oh, OP probably only has male friends. Yeah, you'd be wrong.
Oh.
Men and women. Men and
A
women
feminist king.
who know what's going on, unlike everyone else. OP has friends. And guess who they sided with?
Who?
They sided with me.
Oh, that's big.
This even includes formerly mutual friends who stopped hanging out with my wife some time ago. And after they saw what she was really like. However, all of them, they're not getting involved. They're applauding me from a distance. Some wanted to. They wanted to get involved.
They wanted to tear him down.
But I didn't want to make my problem into their problem too. Only my best friend is someone involved. And other than inviting me to go to Reddit, because I'm probably
He's the
talking
man
his
we
ear
have to
off.
thank for all
Yeah,
of this.
Thank you. OP. I really want to hear all of this, but you need to immortalize this on the internet.
Wait a second. What is the friend's full life story?
Oh, well, he's just been helping me storing my stuff so I can move.
Okay.
My wife does not even have some friends on her side. However, she only says this to me. I've not seen or heard from any of her friends, nor do I feel inclined to snoop. I don't even care what they say. It'll only become my problem if the flying monkeys get involved. My mother-in-law, no friends at all.
Get out of here.
No
her-
men friends.
Her and her flat
No
cats.
women friends. I, on the other hand, both men and women friends. And guess what? Even my wife confirmed it.
Whoa.
So she's basically her mother's best friend. And y'all, you thought it was done. OP has some more juicy necessary details for us in the update. But I'm going to pause here. Do we fucking care? This guy seems like I am reading this and I hate him with every sentence I read.
So I did see one big shocking detail that does happen at the end of this story.
What?
I can't tell you that.
Oh.
You're looking right at it.
I know. There's more than just that.
Oh, there is a juicy update.
Yeah.
I say we go for it.
There is a juicy update.
But is the third one? What does that one look like?
Okay, Sophia just said she thinks it's better.
All right, OP, to be clear, I don't hate you.
I do.
I hate everything that you've written.
And I despise you as a person.
I don't despise you as a person. I despise you as a writer.
I do.
And a thinker of ideas.
Yeah.
But, Wingles, you hear the Worm Queen. Worm Queen demands that we update. John.
Yes.
You've been dying to know more information from OP. And I have that information in the form of an update.
I am beside myself.
My key-stealing crazy mother-in-law passed away.
Whoa.
And it's kind of my fault.
True crime.
What?
Okay, OP, you've hooked us with this update.
You got it. Okay, OP.
You better live up to it, buddy.
Okay, OP. All right, let's see. Let's see what you got. I have decided I will no longer be referring to my soon-to-be ex-wife as wifey.
Whoa.
Big news. Big news. That's the news that we all wanted to hear. Even that feels wrong now. We're going to change it again. So I'll be saying soon-to-be ex-wife.
There we go.
We can't.
Instead.
No, I you know what? Yeah, that's good. This is huge.
All right, now getting into the juice.
Can we just still call her wifey? I can't. We can't just be saying that.
I'm going to say it.
He's gonna be making us say more words than we have to.
He loves
Riley, sometimes change is hard, but we have to open this up.
Yep, open up
our
the
hearts.
Heart. Yep. Take that
and be ready
crowbar
for it.
And open up your heart.
That's right.
Yep.
Life moves, we move with it.
And if you don't stop every once in a while, you just might miss it.
Amen, brother.
So, a few months ago, I anonymously reported my mother-in-law as a serious hoarder. Someone here commented I should report my mother-in-law's hoarding to the fire marshal. And at the time, I decided to do it because I was angry and wanted to get back at her for stealing my collection from her. Oh, wait. I see the ICU. I see the ICU. And making my life a living hell. Mother-in-law had been building a hoard in her house since my wife was a teenager, and the house was filled nearly to the brim with rotten garbage and was rodent infested. I've actually seen rats there. I made a call to the city from a number I Googled. At first, I thought nothing came of it as weeks went by. But I guess someone looked into it because mother-in-law's house was given an inspection. The house was found to be in even worse shape than I thought. It was not only a serious fire hazard to itself and everything around it, and rodent infested, but there were also exposed electrical wires, a roof leak that's gone and fixed for years that has caused bad rot damage and black mold. The outside of the house didn't look that bad, and it was in a neighborhood full of old houses that looked similar, which is likely why no one reported it till I did. My soon-to-be ex-wife figured out it was me who reported her mother. What with timing and all. She came home and ranted to me about all the things her mother told her the inspector found and how her mother was likely to lose her house now, but it was only a matter of time before something like that happened. If I didn't report her mother, someone else eventually would have. Soon-to-be ex screamed at me that I was a horrible, deceitful person. I asked her if she wanted to be the pot or the kettle, then reminded her of all the reasons we would be separating. I ended up losing my cool. Getting a little heated. Getting a little fire.
Like the pot or the kettle.
Like the pot or the kettle, or maybe mother-in-law's house. Putting my little ICU in there. Putting my little ICU in there. See if you see it. Saying that her enabling of her mother caused this. Her acting like her mother, stealing my irreplaceable skeleton key collection I've spent a decade building wasn't important because of this. And her selfish unilateral decision-making and bratty behavior ever since we got married caused this. Couples are supposed to make decisions together. Instead, she kept making them for us, both without even asking my input. So I made a unilateral decision of my own for once and reported her mother's hoarding, which needed to be reported anyway because it's a danger to her and the people around her. I told soon-to-be ex-wife I was long sick of just sucking it all up all the time.
Oh my.
and just letting things pass while they acted like I was the bad guy and walked all over me. Her mother would get nothing more from me. And maybe she wouldn't be as crazy once she's no longer living in a house filled with fumes of rotten garbage, rodent excrement, and black frickin' mold. So soon-to-be ex-wife just walked away, sniffling and cursing me. Yeah, I know I went pretty far. I'd been reduced to being just as petty as her. I made that call because I was angry, but I had no choice but to stand by my decision after I'd done it. Mother-in-law ended up demanding my soon-to-be ex-wife foot the cost of cleaning and restoring the house, but she couldn't afford it. From what I heard, mother-in-law went off on her with her demands and told her to get the money any way she could.
Oh.
I don't care if you're working a street corner or fencing, stolen Xboxes.
Mother-in-law has found ways. She said, learn from your old mom.
Learn the ways of the crowbar.
It's called robbery.
You don't need a skeleton key if you can break into it with a crowbar.
Or dig holes for homeless people.
Dig holes for homeless people. Even demanding I pay for it since I was the one who reported the house. She even said she'd sue me, but soon-to-be ex-wife told her it wouldn't work. The house was exceedingly in poor shape, rotten garbage, exposed wires, roof leaks, rot, black mold. No one should be living like that. When soon-to-be ex-wife tried to tell her mother she couldn't afford to pay for the house to be cleaned and renovated, her mother actually attacked her.
Oh.
Like a wild animal. She hit and scratched her multiple times and tried to pull her hair out. And that's when it happened. Mother-in-law had a heart attack on the spot. Going ape on her daughter must have triggered it. Soon-to-be ex called 911 while looking for an aspirin in the house. But by the time help had arrived, her mother had expired. Soon-to-be ex-wife came home with a police officer in tow for some reason and was absolutely mad, screaming at me about what happened to her mother. She said this was all my fault. And in all of her ranting, I found out my mother had a weak heart. It's the real reason why she has a disability. The officer had to separate soon-to-be ex-wife from me, and she fell onto the couch sobbing. I hated mother-in-law with a passion, but I wasn't trying to end her life. I still feel great guilt over all this. Dude. From what the police officer said and from what my soon-to-be ex-wife said, I pieced the story together and later typed it out. But I couldn't bring myself to post it. I was still racked with guilt, but had to take a serious break from Reddit. But you should never take a serious break from us by joining our live stream on YouTube and Facebook every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile.
That's right.
There's more to this story. But John, do you think the mother-in-law deserved to have a heart attack?
Sam, I might say something really controversial here.
Say it.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say that, and I'm going to stand on it.
All right.
Because, I think sometimes stuff happens.
Sometimes stuff happens.
Sometimes stuff happens, and it just is what it is. And this is the case where we've gone through the dirt. We've gone on the long bike ride, the winding hills of journeys to get here, and sometimes it just has an ending where unforeseen forces just come in and
sometimes the trash takes itself out,
Wow.
Yep.
I guess
Sam,
so.
What was the ICU you saw earlier?
Oh, I thought her whole house was going to burn down.
Oh,
yeah,
that's what I was
thought
being
she was
set
about
up
to get
for.
flattened by her horde of stuff.
Oh, yeah. That would have been good, too.
I thought she was
a
a flat
bad,
cat.
terrible.
All
how
possibilities.
That evening, when I found out my mother-in-law had passed away, soon-to-be ex-wife managed to calm down long enough to speak to the police officer more clearly about what happened. But she kept shifting between blaming herself and blaming me. I asked her from across the room why I was never told about her mother's heart conditions, and she yelled it was none of my darn business. But it explains why mother-in-law used to dramatically put her hand on her chest and cry so many times when she wasn't getting her way. My soon-to-be ex-wife ended up going crazy in the bathroom she'd been using since we started sleeping separately. She asked the police officer for a moment to herself, then just went crazy after shutting the door. She came out a few minutes later looking angry but calm, then told me I was cleaning that mess up. We packed her bags again, left the house for the motel once more, and told me she wouldn't be coming back unless it was to get her stuff. I was so guilt-ridden that it was hard. I was hardly able to function for days back then and had to take leave from work because of stress migraines. I basically spent 3 days on the couch, hopped up on meds. But after that, I got my booty in gear again. My friends all tell me it wasn't my fault, both men and women. I didn't know.
All the genders?
All genders.
Okay.
I didn't know, and mother-in-law was crazy. Either way, what's done is done, and I Got to live with it.
Whoa.
Sadly, there's more that happened. John, there's more.
I don't believe it.
And you might be wondering, is OP going to dish the dirt? Is he going to spill the beans?
I mean, he's dug up so much already. Like,
I'll be telling it in another post. Edit. I came back to find over 200 comments in my inbox. Flex. And I want to thank everyone for the support I've been given. It's too much for me to reply to it all. So I'll respond from here. Did I move into that apartment in March? Yeah, I did. The events of the post happened before that move. Is this post fake? I wish it was. But this is the crap I've dealt with. Am I in therapy? Yeah, I am. Only for about a month now, but it's helping.
I bet the therapist is a woman.
Very few were against me in the comments because everyone loves me. But I don't blame those that were. Yeah, mother-in-law's heart condition was unknown to me. And yeah, I set things in motion by calling a fire marshal. And yeah, I understand hoarding is a bad mental disorder. I am guilty for that. I'm not made of stone.
He's got a heart.
But at the same time, my mother-in-law, narcissist, who loved walking all over me and anyone else, even her own daughter. Yeah, I understand it's a scary thing to lose one's home. But if you don't treat your home like a home and let it turn into a moldy, infested rat den, then you've let your home down.
This is not a rat house. It's a rat home.
She was only able to live in one room of it because the rest was so bad and stinky. And about a week ago, I drove by the property and saw mother-in-law's house had been torn down. There's nothing but an empty lot now. Guess it was deemed an unsalvageable biohazard, just like my mother-in-law's cold, dead heart. Wow. There's some relevant comments. Blagthor says, OP, I've been following your story for a while, and from the looks of it, you're dodging a serious bullet. Honestly, you aren't the only one who told your ex-mother-in-law that she had an attack on your wife. It is so completely unfortunate about what happened, but in the most broad term possible, they effed around and found out.
Wow.
OP says, I have to agree. I made a phone call, and that started things in motion. But I didn't make mother-in-law go crazy on my soon-to-be ex-wife. It was a bad situation that made my separation from soon-to-be ex-wife even worse. And bada bing, bada boom. That's the end.
What a conclusive ending to leave.
Except there's more.
Oh,
there's another part.
Is there
just
now?
Around the corner?
Oh, really? All right, Sam. Are you ready for this next part?
Oh yeah.
Is your soul ready for the dirt we're about to unearth?
I'm jumping for joy.
Update. In my last post, I told how I reported my mother-in-law's hoarding, how her house was inspected and scheduled to be condemned. She demanded my soon-to-be ex-wife pay for the house to be fixed, but when soon-to-be ex-wife said she couldn't pay, her mother went ape on her and then died from a heart attack soon after. It happens.
It just happened.
Literally, it happened. She had a congenital heart condition I was completely unaware of till after she had kicked the bucket. I was told for years that she was on disability only for mental problems, but she actually had a weak heart, both metaphorically and literally. Her potential being removed from the only home she lived in for decades put her stress over the edge, and her heart gave out when she attacked her own daughter for being unable to fund her home's restoration. Yes, I do feel guilty about what happened, but it's in the past now. If something happens, guys, we just treat it like dirt we've dug up. We toss that dirt back over, give it a little pat, and we keep moving.
We keep moving.
That's
we keep rocking and rolling.
Will a homeless man get in that hole and, do what he will? We don't know.
Or maybe even 5 grown men.
But we're not looking back. We keep marching. Mother-in-law's house was torn down. I'm not sure when, but about a week after making my previous post, I drove over to where her house was, and there's nothing but an empty lot now. And OP's not digging a hole there, let me tell you that. The house was likely declared a biohazard or something. Not sure if soon-to-be ex-wife owns the property now or if it was sold. I don't know. I cannot imagine soon-to-be ex-wife inherited much of anything good from her mother's hoarder den. The house was so bad, I'd even seen a rat scurry across the top of the hoard once, in case you didn't know. Many past commenters were exactly right about my soon-to-be ex was likely aiming at a baby trap with her love-bombing behavior. A few days after she had left for the motel when her mother passed away, I went into the bathroom she tore up to clean it. She left it in quite a bit of a state that day, that she had the meltdown in there, but thankfully nothing but her personal items were broken. She did splatter some shampoo all over the walls though. A metaphor for the life that they had that's been
squeezed out of them.
While cleaning, I looked in the wastebasket and I noticed a bottle with pills that said fertility support.
Oh, so she was trying to baby trap.
She was juicing.
She was juicing.
Baby
Wait, can you
juicing.
do that? You can take fertility pills.
I mean, yeah,
What happens if I take a fertility pill?
you get fertile in all the right ways. But when I removed the cat from the bottle, the paper seal had been torn out. I Googled the stuff, and it was a common female fertility vitamin that anyone could buy online in a store, not a prescription. I confronted my soon-to-be ex-wife when she came to get her stuff. She admitted that she'd hoped she got pregnant so I wouldn't divorce her, but that was before her mother passed away. After that, she said she never wanted to touch me again. Problem solved?
That's what we want.
And she scoffed when I said I'd felt that way towards her for a while before she did. Ouch. I never found out if my ex put anything in the food or the open can that she tried to serve me, though. I searched the house top to bottom for anything else that could have been a clue and came up with nothing. So she may have just wanted me to get wasted. I can't express enough, though, how glad I am that I didn't have a child with this woman. I wasn't allowed to attend the mother-in-law's funeral, though I didn't really want to go. I can't imagine why you would. My soon-to-be ex-wife specifically told me she didn't want me there, and I responded that I understood why. But then later, soon-to-be ex-wife posted online that she was furious barely anyone from her family showed up. Not even her own father came. And when she lied by saying I was invited but refused to come, which was blatantly false, and I had text proving that that was false, what do you think Obi did?
Oh, he went wild.
When soon-to-be ex-wife left the house after her mother died, she went back to the motel for an extended stay while she moved her stuff out bit by bit, either to storage or a friend's place. I don't know, since I didn't help. OP's
He doesn't need help.
he's done.
He's done. He's over.
He's fixed himself. I heard from friends, gender unknown, that she eventually found a studio apartment but hated living in such a small space after previously having a house. She was also looking miserable at the local laundromat. Our former landlord agreed to keep the extra furniture neither of us could take, as his new incoming renters were happy to use them. And Sam, you might be asking yourself,
I was so asking myself,
who are these new renters?
who are they?
What?
What's their background?
What do they have to bring to this story? We're never going to find out.
No.
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm
That
sorry.
was the one relevant piece of information that I needed.
I need to know if they've ever built a hole before in their lives.
Dude, how many grown men could fit in it? We will literally never find out. A lot of you thought that she would, but my soon-to-be ex did not try to sabotage the house in any way other than her bathroom tantrum, but she stubbornly refused to help pay for cleaning service. She made it more than obvious she was doing that to spite me, so rather than wasting time fighting with her about it, I hired a cleaning crew myself. They and I left the house spotless, and I got back my half of the security deposit without issue. I did later buy a used Kent Richland bike.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Like, shut up. Who thinks anyone would read all this? And here we are. We are
Us.
the fools. Or, I mean, OP, you just mentioned a bike. What's more information about this bike? I don't know what a Ridgeland bike is.
I think we're about to ride off in the sunset, Sam.
Thank God.
Because I later bought the Kent Ridgeland bike and I started to ride again. You see, the bike had a replacement seat, all right? But it's otherwise bone stock original, okay? I only ride a little bit at a time these days, currently once to twice per week at most. That is the regiment. I just don't have the passion that I used to. But I do enjoy the short cruises around town, you see. And while I could commute to work on the bike, because that's what we were all thinking would happen, that we would the same work, you know, where he had to serve her at her work, right? He has to go to work too. He has to earn to make a living. These holes don't dig themselves. The surprising amount of warnings I got from people here telling me that riding to work was a bad idea, it made me reconsider. It made me reconsider doing this. It didn't help that I found out that a friend of a friend, gender unknown, got hit by a car. Are they alive? We're not sure. But this was while he was on his bike a couple months ago. So, case in point, I am just hobby riding instead of commuting to work, okay?
I don't care. I don't care.
Hey, you think this is so irrelevant? You think, oh, this has nothing to do? Do you remember the man who is the reason why we are here today? Guys, ladies and gentlemen, may I remind you, the man who told OP to post on Reddit, yeah, none other than the best friend.
You, that guy, where are you? Where are you? You're being a bad friend, all right? You should just listen to OP instead of making OP say this drivel.
It's because OP was like, "Hey, can I tell you the story?" And he starts hearing the story. And he's like, "Dude, you know what? Actually, you should not tell me. You should tell me."
I know. OP's friend should have just listened, should have just absorbed this nonsense so the whole world wouldn't have to hear it. Yet here we are. And we're too deep. We can't stop now. We're already 2 feet in. We're going to dunk our whole bodies in this nonsense because sunk cost fallacy. Am I happy about it? No. Am I going to do it? Yes.
So my best friend, he joins me sometimes too. And you see, the thing is, he's got a red Mongoose MTB bike that he dusted off, right? He had to get the dust on out of there. It needed...
What is this?
We can't ride on air, guys. It needed new tires. So I put some on for him, and I gave the bike a good old-fashioned tune-up. And then we took to the bike paths, okay? His bike has gears. But there's one huge problem that you'll never could have guessed. It's much heavier. Guys, the aerodynamic, it's all messed up. Mine is a single speed, but fairly nimble, so it kind of evens out. So after the mother's funeral.
So wait, we just had a whole sequence on bikes for no reason.
Guys, we rode our way to this funeral.
I'm glad. You know what? I think I truly understand OP's internal dialogue. Also, I totally understand why OP's wife would just take mother-in-law's side, because how could anyone listen to this guy's side? Like, to listen to this guy's side, you have to wade through hours of just crap.
We have to finish this out. We cannot finish this out without asking this question. Poll, who is worse, OP or ex-wife? Who's worse?
Yeah.
Please tell me. Who is worse? We will put up the poll. You will vote. And by the end of this episode, we will have an answer chosen by the people.
I think we should finish this episode out, but I have a petition to not do part 3. I petition us to not do part 3.
What happens to the best friend's Mongo bike?
I desperately have
Does it
no
rust?
interest in knowing.
Does it rust?
I can't.
OP did the tune-up. Are you ready for it? OP did the tune-up. What if that tune-up wasn't so tight? Some gears start falling.
Yeah.
Bike falls apart, gets hit by a car, dies.
Yeah. You know, he caused the death of his mother-in-law. Maybe he's not causing the death of his friend.
His best friend.
Yeah. Everyone's saying
who may or may not be a woman.
OP is the a-hole. All right, let's finish this.
Let's close it out.
Let's just close
Let's
this
close it out.
Okay, cool.
Vote to the poll right now.
I'll get a TLDR for the rest of it.
We can read the TLDRs just to close it out. I cannot listen to this guy anymore. I cannot. I won't.
Let's do this funeral, the TLDRs, and then
okay.
Yeah. I think there's one paragraph left on that part.
All right.
All right.
Go.
After her mother's funeral, my soon-to-be ex-wife went into full hate mode. She started bad-mouthing me out on social media and told multiple lies about me because she saw me as responsible for what happened to her mother. She claimed I was physically, emotionally, and financially abusive, which I wasn't. If anything, she resolved that to me. She also played off the value of my skeleton key collection. We can hashtag never forget.
Ever talk about my skeleton key collection like that.
Which she claimed was worthless.
And
Sacrilegious.
it's not. It's $3,000.
Oh, however, there was already a fair amount of word spread through the friends and former mutual friends about what had really happened, and they commented on her post about it to the point where she took them down. But I still got messages from angry flying monkeys. The most common thing is they say that I ended a sick old woman's life over keys. I told them all of my side of what happened and pointed out that I had plenty of evidence, including being told I wasn't invited to the funeral and showing screenshots. I was sorry mother-in-law had passed away, but I couldn't have foreseen that she'd have a heart attack, and her house was so bad, it was just completely unlivable. A select few apologized, most stopped talking, and a good few persistently called me a liar, so I had to block them.
Is that it?
But how did they block them?
We are ending the story.
We are
once and for all.
We are riding this industrial Lance Armstrong bike into the sunset, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you ever watch the X-Men with Ryan Reynolds where he's Deadpool, but he's like the Deadpool that has the swords that come out of his hands?
Like the super, super old one.
Yeah.
They're like fighting on a
you
volcano
know, and it goes like,
whatever.
ching, like you go, and he has like
I want to
those
rewatch that.
swords like right here.
Mm.
That kind of reminds me of that.
Started it all,
Started it all.
dude.
Ching, ching. All right, for the people that want to know how this story ends, we are going to read the TLDRs of the next 3 sections because I cannot physically endure listening to this poopy storyteller anymore.
The good news: this is going to be chock full of action.
This is going to be chock full of action.
We have like 3 episodes worth in like 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
So buckle up, strap in your bike helmets. Opie went through a chaotic divorce with their soon-to-be ex-wife, who teamed up with Opie's estranged narcissistic mother to harass him. Despite knowing why Opie went no contact with his mother, soon-to-be ex-wife tracked her down, brought her into Opie's home, leading to a heated confrontation. Opie detailed the manipulation, lies, and toxic behavior both women subjected him to, with the police eventually intervening after a neighbor called them. Following the incident, Opie filed a report to document the harassment and cut all contact with both women. The divorce proceedings revealed even more about soon-to-be ex-wife's motivations, including her dependence on her late narcissistic mother and attempts to use OP for financial support. Despite her initial attempts to prolong the process and harass OP further through a flying monkey, a mutual acquaintance sent to argue on her behalf, OP's thorough evidence, including text recordings, financial recordings, left her with no choice but to settle the case. The court dismissed her petty complaints, such as her hatred of Opie's bike. You knew it would come back around.
Oh, the bike.
And the divorce ended with no alimony and a clean split. Now, divorced and free of drama, OP is focusing on moving forward. He has acknowledged the lingering trust issues caused by his ex and his mom, but is addressing them in therapy, gender unknown. Although his ex claimed to have realized her mistakes, OP remains skeptical and has no plans to rekindle any relationship with her or his mother. He's relieved to be out of this toxic marriage, and he hopes for a healthier future. Cliff note, epilogue. Does he mention the bike? Yes. OP mentions the bike multiple times. You see, his soon-to-be ex-wife has an inexplicable hatred for this bike, even going so far as to throw out an old bike because it quote-unquote annoyed her. That's not a great reason. During the divorce, she brought up her dislike of the bike in court on the stand, claiming OP should have given it up to support her preferences. The judge dismissed this as irrelevant. I can't imagine why. But she made one final dig after the hearing, saying OP seemed to love his bike more than her. If that is not damning evidence, I don't know what is, sir.
I wish there was a judge that would dismiss this whole story as not relevant.
Could we just throw everyone in jail, including the bike? OP found her fixation on the bike ridiculous and used it as another example of her controlling and petty behavior.
So that's the end of that story. If you've made it to the deep end, for those,
Wow.
I mean, I know everyone who's live obviously made it to the deep end,
Yeah.
are members, but if you've made it to the deep end and are watching this, what do you think?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say.
That's it.
Hopefully this is a good consolation prize. We love you. So if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you and see you tomorrow.